I'm talking to the director of the fabulous Porterville Studio Band, the 20-piece band that is presently touring the Far East on a 6-week tour and here at Camp Casey, South Korea. The director's name, Mr. Buck Schaefer. Buck, can you tell me just how the group is enjoying their tour in the Far East?
Well, the kids are really having a wonderful time. I think everybody in Porterville should be very proud of them. They're doing a very wonderful job, and I think the trip just playing Korea has certainly been wonderful because I believe that we have been doing more good here playing for GIs than any place we've played.
What are some of the interesting spots that you've hit on your tour?
Well, I think probably the most interesting and historic was the 38th parallel today. The boys, the Spatial Services here drove us up, and we saw 38th parallel, and it was a real thrilling experience for me after reading about it during the Korean War so much.
And all the boys really enjoyed seeing the 38th parallel?
Oh, very much so. It was a very thrilling thing for them all.
Tell me something about the background of the band, Mr. Schaefer. How long did it practice to prepare for coming on their Far Eastern tour?
Well, you see, the studio band is a class in Porterville Union High School. It meets 1 hour every day, the 8th period, and we have been rehearsing all winter long for this trip, getting our library and getting ready for the trip.
Well, I heard the group earlier this evening, and they're certainly a fabulous band, as you publicize, Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you.
Porterville is celebrating their 100th centennial this year, is that right?
That's right, 100th centennial, and you know, on this trip, the Chamber of Commerce in Porterville gave us 2,000 wooden nickels to give out. And man, I want to tell you, we have given wooden nickels out in Okinawa, in Japan, in Korea, and when we get to Hawaii, we're going to spread them around there. I think more people have heard of Porterville, I think, in the Pacific during the past 4 weeks than probably ever heard of it before in this area anyway.
Well, I certainly have heard of it since I'm from Visalia, California.
Yes, that's right.
And you gave me a few wooden nickels this evening.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. We're going to talk to the other members of the band in just a few minutes. Thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure, and thank you, Mr. Jones.
I'm talking to Leland Jewell, a member of the Porterville Studio Band, whose parents, Mr. and Mrs. Leroy Jewell, live at 518 Rock Hill Road in Porterville, California. Leland, can you tell me how you're enjoying your Far Eastern tour?
I think it's just great myself. It's fascinating.
Certainly a wonderful experience for a group of high school boys to see all the interesting places around Japan and Korea.
Yes, we certainly are lucky.
What other countries have you seen so far?
Just Okinawa, Wake, Japan, and then Korea here.
Tell me, how long did the band practice before making this tour?
Well, we've been practicing all year for the tour.
Excellent. I'd like to ask you this question. How did they get those real zany costumes that they wear there? Their
Well,
fine suit of clothes.
We had them ordered especially for the trip in back east.
And you also had a fundraising drive for the uniforms, is that right?
No, the band financed itself from the money we made from dances throughout the year.
Well, it's certainly a wonderful thing that you're doing, touring the Far Eastern circuit here with the fabulous Porterville Studio Band. How about giving a greeting to your mother and father back home?
Yeah, well, I'd sure be glad to get home to see them again.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Leland Jewell of the Porterville Studio Band. Here's another member of the fabulous Porterville Studio Band, Ty Sturgeon, whose parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ellsworth Sturgeon, live at Route 1, Box 350 in Porterville. Ty, how are you enjoying your tour of the Far East?
I like it real well.
Now, could you tell me just what instrument you play?
I play second trombone.
What countries have you hit so far in the Far East?
Well, we've been in Okinawa and Japan and Korea here, and we're going to go to Hawaii in a few days.
Well, you certainly have a fabulous trip planned for the fabulous studio band. Tell me, what are the different age ranges of the boys in the choir? Boys in the choir, I should say boys in the band. Excuse me, Ty.
The youngest one is 14, and there are a few that are 19 years old, and we range in between there.
How do you get along on the tour? After a while, do your nerves get on edge, or have you been getting along pretty well?
Well, we've been getting along pretty well. Some of them start to a little bit, but the other boys step in and help them out.
Well, that's quite good. You're one of the older members in the band, Ty?
Well, I'm 18, and the oldest ones, there's 3 or 4 that are older than I am.
And you're the tallest boy in the
Yes.
choir, in the band. I keep saying choir, I don't know why. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3" and a half.
6'3" and a half. You play basketball
Well, I haven't lately. I'm going to try to this next year if I can.
on the Porterville team.
Yes.
How about a greeting before we finish the interview, Ty, to your mother and father back in Porterville?
I'd like to say hello to my mother and father and my brothers and Sharon and tell them that I'm having a wonderful time and I miss them all very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ty Surgeon of the Porterville Studio Band. I'm talking to Jack Lutz, a member of the Porterville Studio Band, whose parents, Mr. and Mrs. Robert W. Lutz, live at 1366 West Bellevue in Porterville. Jack, I'd like to ask you just how you're enjoying your tour of the Far Eastern Circuit.
I think it's wonderful. It's quite an experience. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
The band certainly plays fabulous music, Jack. What is your favorite number that they play on the program?
I like Swing Swang Swung. I don't play it because
Say that
I'm
again?
Swing Swang Swung.
Swing, swang, swung. I can
Yeah.
hardly say that. What
Well,
instrument you play in the band?
I play the piano.
And you also have a very interesting, I think, magician act which you
Yes,
offer
I
in the
do.
show.
I do. I've only been in it about magic itself about 2 years, and I brought the show along to add something to the program that we had to offer overseas to the fellows.
Well, you certainly do a very outstanding job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
What grade are you in at Porterville High School?
Next year I'll be a junior.
And you're getting anxious for school to begin?
Not too much. I don't even want to go back.
You
right
just
away.
as soon tour around the Far East for another year or so.
That's quite correct.
Before we finish the interview, Jack, do you have a greeting for your mother and father back in the Porterville?
Yes, I don't need money yet. I might come down to it, though. But I'm going to be glad to get back to everybody at home. Hello there, everybody.
Well, thank you, Jack Lutz of the Porterville Studio Band.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm talking to Bruce Malden of the Porterville Studio Band, whose mother, Mrs. Jean Malden, lives at 603 North F Street in Porterville, California. Bruce, can you tell me how you're enjoying your tour of the Far Eastern Circuit?
I sure can't make any complaints about it.
What instrument do you play in the band, Bruce?
I play baritone saxophone.
You also have a little specialty act which you offer to the audiences that you play for throughout the circuit here. Can you tell us something about this?
Well, it's something that I've been working on for a long time, getting ready for the trip here. It's really nothing. I just get up there and start telling a couple of jokes and get some laughs and make the people feel better. That's the idea of it.
Well, you certainly do a very outstanding job. What grade are you in back in Porterville?
I'll be a freshman in college this next year,
And you're going to go to Porterville JC
as far as I know.
and
Yes.
continue to play in the band?
Yes.
Well, that's very good for both you and the band, I'm sure, Bruce. Bruce, before we finish the interview, do you have a greeting for your mother back in Porterville?
Well, I've been writing as often as I can. That's about all I can say. It's been a little. It hasn't been as good as it should have been, but I sure want to say hello and I love her and to Judy and my brother and everybody.
Well, thank you, Bruce Malden of the Porterville Studio Band. I'm talking to Larry Lindgren, one of the members of the fabulous 20-piece studio band now touring the Far Eastern Circuit. His mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Lindgren, live at 1301 3rd Street in Porterville, California. Larry, the folks back home are listening to this interview through courtesy of radio station KTIP. Can you tell me and tell the folks back home just how you're enjoying the tour here of the Far East?
Well, it's real fine seeing how the other half of the world lives, and I'm really enjoying it.
I understand you went up this morning and saw the 38th parallel, which is the more or less the border between North and South Korea. How do you enjoy that tour?
It was all right. It was a dusty road, though.
It is a little dusty. Larry, what instrument do you play?
Trumpet.
And you are the leading trumpet in the band?
Yes.
How long have you been playing this instrument?
About 10 years now.
10 years, and do you plan to make this a professional job later on after you get out of the band?
No, it's just a hobby with me.
And what is your profession for the future?
Pre-dental.
Pre-dental. Work with people's teeth, then.
Yeah.
I
That's
can't-
right.
I imagine that somebody that blows the trumpet as loud and as well as you has to have good teeth and good lips also, Larry. Tell me, are you anxious to get back to school?
Oh, I can wait, I guess.
You can wait as long as you can tour around and see all these interesting countries. I know that your mother and father are listening back home to this interview. Larry, how about a greeting for them before we close?
Okay. Hello, Mom and Dad. Send that film. I sure need it. And I'd like to also say hello to Sis and Jean, Bradley, Marilyn, all my distant relatives.
Well, thank you very much, Larry Lindgren of the Porterville Studio Band. I'm talking to Tom Donnelly, whose mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Robert Donnelly, live at 759 Rose Lane in Porterville. Tom, I know that you're one of the main members of the Porterville Studio Band. How are you enjoying your tour here of the Far East?
Oh, I like it very much. I think it's very educational.
And what instrument do you play?
I play trumpet.
What is the most interesting thing you've seen so far on your tour?
I think Tokyo's about the most interesting thing.
What did you do and see when you were in Tokyo?
Oh, I went around to all the various shrines around the place and studied some of the religion over there. It was very interesting.
Well, Tokyo and Japan are certainly very, very interesting. What grade are you in back at Porterville Union High School?
Well, I'll be a junior this year.
Are you going to go out for any sports or other interests there at the high school?
No, not exactly.
The band takes up most of your time.
Oh, yes.
I know that your mother and father are listening to this interview through the courtesy of KTIP in Porterville. Do you have a greeting for them?
Yeah, I'd just like to say hello. I'll be back pretty quick.
Well, thank you very much, Tom Donnelly of the fabulous Porterville Studio Band. I'm talking to Doug Van Horn of the fabulous Porterville Studio Band. His mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Van Horn, live at 1518 Roby Street in Porterville, California. Doug, how are you enjoying your tour over here of the Far East?
Oh, we're doing a lot of work, but we're seeing a lot of country that we probably wouldn't be able to see otherwise. It's really interesting seeing how the other people live on the other side of the country.
How long is the tour?
We have 2 more weeks to go. We've already played 4 weeks now.
How did you get the chance to come over here to the Far East?
Oh, we sent in tapes of some of our performances and our tapings that we plan on using for our records. And we sent them to Washington, and they ran over them and put them in with a lot of the other people that were trying out, and they just selected us, I guess, from among the many people that tried.
Well, I think they made a perfect selection, Doug, because the band certainly plays really fabulous music. What instrument do you play in the band?
Tenor sax, I try.
Well, I'm certain you try very well, Doug. I know that your mother and father are listening to this interview back home through the courtesy of KTIP in Porterville, a very fine radio station to grant us this airtime. And do you have a greeting for them at this time?
Oh, I'd like to say hello to them and my parents and also my dog. and and I'd like to tell them that I haven't been doing all my laundering over here. They're worried about that. And I hope they get my letters. They've been finding out everything about the trip. They know more than I do.
Well, thank you very much, Doug Van Horn of the Porterville Studio Band. I'm talking to Jim Hoskins of the Studio Band. His mother, Mrs. Frida Hoskins, lives at 140 South 8th Street in Porterville, California. Jim, this is the first question I ask everybody. How are you enjoying your Far Eastern trip?
Well, as some of the other boys said, it's pretty interesting. You see a lot of wonderful things about how the other countries live.
And what's the most interesting thing that you've seen so far in the Far East?
Well, while I was in Tokyo, I got to see the Tokyo Tower, and it pretty much amazed me.
What are the other countries that you've seen here in the Far East other than Japan and Korea?
The only one so far has been Okinawa. And after that, we came back to Japan and went straight over here. We'll see Hawaii before we go back to the States now.
What instrument do you play in the band?
Trumpet.
Trumpet.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm interested to know just what the average age of the band is.
Well, we figured it out a while ago, and it was between 17 around 16 and a half, 16 and 3/4.
Porterville is celebrating their centennial anniversary this year, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Their 100th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And they're passing out wooden nickels to Californians all over the Far East.
Yes.
And I was very fortunate to receive one. I'm from Visalia, California, which is very close to Porterville, Jim. What grade are you in back at Porterville Union High School?
I'll be a senior when school starts.
A senior, mighty senior, then. You'll be right at the top of your class then. Before we finish this interview, Jim, do you have a greeting for your parents back at Porterville?
Yeah, say hello to them, my girlfriend too.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Jim Hoskins of the Porterville Studio Band. I have in front of the microphone Larry Todd of the Porterville Studio Band. His mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. C.J. Todd, live in Terabella, California. Larry, can you tell me how you're enjoying your tour of the Far East?
Oh, I guess it's great.
What is the most interesting thing that you've seen so far on your trip?
Well, I kind of liked Okinawa for personal reasons, but I guess the taxi rides in Tokyo.
The taxi rides there?
Yeah, pretty exciting.
What sort of transportation do they have over there as far as taxi cabs?
Well, they're small cars, sort of like a compact car in America.
They're pretty wild, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't, sometimes they don't look where they're going. I know I've been there a few times. Larry, what instrument do you play in the band?
I play trumpet.
Trumpet. And how long have you been playing with the studio band?
Just this year. first year.
Just this year. And what grade are you in at Porterville?
In 2 years, I'll be a senior.
In 2 years, you'll be a senior. So if my calculations are right, you're now a sophomore.
Yeah, I get
And
junior, I like to call
Are
it.
you looking forward to getting back to school?
No, not especially.
Not especially. You just as soon tour around the Far East for a few
Yeah,
years more.
back to Okinawa.
I know that your mother and father are listening to this interview through the courtesy of KTIP in Porterville. Do you have a greeting for them before we finish this interview?
Well, I'd just like to say hello and hello to Janice. I hope my folks got the letter I wrote to them.
Well, thank you very much, Larry Todd of the Studio Band.